North Korea, known as the most isolated country on Earth, remains one of the poorest nations due to limited diplomatic ties. Government-provided food, healthcare, and education suggest an image of stability, yet economic hardship remains. In today's video, we discover 21 hidden truths of life inside North Korea, surprising realities the headlines miss. Some are eye-opening, and once revealed, it's clear why they've remained unspoken. Strict regulations on personal freedoms. In North Korea, citizens may encounter certain limits on their movement, activities, and access to information. Travel within the country is managed through a system of permits and checkpoints, which means many people may not have the chance to visit the capital, Pyongyang, a city primarily accessible to specific groups. Pyongyang serves as a showcase city presenting an image of development, while life in other areas may differ. Some personal freedoms, such as owning a computer or accessing the internet, are available to select, approved groups. Most citizens have access to Kwangmyong, a domestic network that offers curated content. Owning a computer requires local registration, and devices may be periodically checked to ensure compliance with regulations. Social interactions mostly occur within official events, while larger informal gatherings may be monitored. A community reporting system helps maintain order, creating an environment that encourages caution in social relationships. These measures support the goal of managing information and communication, limiting citizens' connections with the outside world and with each other. What lengths does the government go to in order to control what its people know and see? Limited internet access and media regulations. In North Korea, access to information is carefully managed by the state, ensuring that most citizens remain shielded from external influences. The internet, as known globally, is unavailable. Instead, a closed network called Kwangmyong, meaning bright light, is provided. This network offers state-approved websites, email services, and selected educational content, all designed to promote the regime's messages. Kwangmyong is accessible primarily in public spaces like libraries and universities, and gaining access requires official permission, leaving many without the means to use it. Usage is closely monitored, fostering an environment where individuals are discouraged from seeking information beyond what is sanctioned. Even professionals such as scientists are limited to this network, while a select few, under strict oversight, are granted minimal access to the global internet. Efforts to circumvent this system by accessing unapproved media or devices are met with harsh consequences, including detainment in re-education facilities. This tight grip on information flow is intended to maintain control, keeping the populace reliant on official narratives and minimizing the risk of differing viewpoints that could challenge the established order. And if simply accessing information is restricted, how far does it go in regulating expression itself? Sarcasm. In North Korea, expressing oneself through sarcasm is highly discouraged and viewed as a potentially harmful act against Kim Jong-un's leadership. Unlike in democratic nations, where sarcasm can serve as a subtle form of critique, statements that question the regime's narrative about the U.S. or challenge its policies of self-reliance are considered inappropriate. The repercussions for such expressions can be significant, potentially leading to confinement or consequences that affect entire families. Citizens are advised by authorities to avoid any language that might be interpreted as critical, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a respectful and supportive atmosphere. This approach is intended to uphold a unified and loyal image of the nation under the Kim dynasty. Expression isn't just about words. Even small choices like hairstyles are under scrutiny. Haircuts. In North Korea, even hairstyles are tightly controlled by the state. Citizens must choose from a limited range of government-approved styles, with strict rules especially for men, whose hair must not exceed 5 centimeters in length. Hair dye is also restricted to natural black. In the year 2005, state-run TV crews publicly shamed men with unacceptable haircuts, claiming long hair harms intelligence and nutrition. Despite the rules, underground salons offer discreet services for those seeking personal expression, such as slightly longer hair or different hair colors. However, these services are costly due to the risks involved. punishments for defying the rules range from public shaming to reprimands, fostering a culture of fear. Yet, for some, choosing their hairstyle is a small act of defiance against the regime's control. So what about clothing? Does it follow the same pattern of restriction? Denim jeans. In North Korea, wearing denim is seen as a challenge to the regime's control, symbolizing Western capitalism. This was illustrated in March year 2024, when a North Korean broadcast of Alan Titchmarsh's Garden Secrets blurred out his jeans to shield viewers from Western influence. While Titchmarsh joked about the censorship, the reality for North Koreans, especially women, can be difficult. Authorities discourage wearing jeans, miniskirts, or bright clothes, often leading to public admonishment or the destruction of such attire. Despite the risks, many young North Koreans quietly push back. Fashion has become a rare form of self-expression, with individuals taking discreet routes to avoid patrols. These subtle acts of resistance highlight the resilience and spirit of North Korea's youth, offering a glimpse of individuality and hope in a controlled society. While fashion is tightly controlled, access to basic health products tells an even other story. Limited access to health products. In North Korea, daily life is shaped by extensive governmental restrictions, affecting many aspects of daily existence. For women, access to sanitary products is notably limited, creating significant challenges related to hygiene and well-being. Many women reportedly lack access to adequate sanitary products, and substitutes may not offer the comfort or safety needed, potentially leading to health concerns. This reality underscores the difficult conditions many experience and highlights the resilience needed to navigate everyday life within the country. But what happens when even the smallest disobedience is met with severe repercussions? Public punishments and legal penalties. In North Korea, the legal system is used as a tool to maintain control through fear and strict obedience. Even minor actions, like owning certain books or viewing foreign media, can lead to serious consequences aimed at limiting outside influences. Public disciplinary measures are sometimes carried out in open spaces as a warning to remind people of the importance of following state regulations. The government views foreign media, especially content from South Korea, as a potential threat that could lead citizens to question its authority. Religious practices, particularly Christianity, are also heavily restricted. Possessing certain religious texts may be considered an anti-state act. Such actions can affect not only the individual but also their family, creating a cautious atmosphere around religious expression. Attempts to leave North Korea are met with severe repercussions designed to discourage similar actions. Those who try to escape and are returned face significant consequences. According to accounts from witnesses, these disciplinary measures aim to uphold a culture of compliance, where every action and belief is closely monitored. Through this system, the North Korean government maintains strict control, reinforcing a cautious environment in citizens' daily lives. And in a country with such tight restrictions, it's no surprise that some everyday products are banned as well. Coca-Cola. If you're a fan of Coca-Cola, North Korea may not be the ideal destination. Due to strict import restrictions, Coca-Cola is generally unavailable in the country. Until the year 2015, only two countries, Cuba and North Korea, had restrictions on Coca-Cola. After Cuba lifted its ban, North Korea remained one of the last countries without legal Coca-Cola sales. Coca-Cola has clarified that any of its products in North Korea are likely present due to unofficial channels rather than legal distribution. Though Coca-Cola does not engage in political matters, its connection to the U.S. has made it a symbol of Western influence, which North Korea typically restricts. Due to these regulations, North Korean citizens are strongly discouraged from consuming products associated with American brands. But in North Korea, even the most personal of life choices, like marriage, are carefully controlled. Marriage and divorce. In North Korea, marriage and divorce are closely regulated by the state, aligning personal relationships with the regime's policies. Couples are not allowed to marry on significant dates like the birthdays of Kim Il-sung or Kim Jong-il, as these days are reserved for honoring the leadership. Western wedding customs, such as wearing white dresses or lifting the bride, are discouraged and viewed as incompatible with local values. Divorce, while not banned, is heavily regulated. It requires mutual consent and government approval and is rarely granted, often limited to one case per day. This strict regulation has been in place since the year 1956, reflecting the government's control over family matters. Some couples bypass these rules by holding unofficial ceremonies, giving them the option to separate without legal complications. However, non-compliance with regulations can lead to reprimands or other consequences, illustrating the state's control over personal freedoms. While love and family are regulated, healthcare access faces even more serious obstacles. Ban on medicine sales. In North Korea, access to essential medicines and healthcare services remains limited, presenting significant health challenges. Although the government promotes a policy of free healthcare, resource shortages continue to be a reality. Citizens contribute a portion of their income towards social insurance. However, public hospitals sometimes lack the necessary medications for treatment. Some reports indicate that the healthcare system faces ongoing difficulties, and occasionally individuals may not receive full support. With private pharmacies unavailable, citizens rely entirely on the national healthcare system, which can sometimes experience shortages of essential medicines, making access to treatment more challenging. And while access to medicine is scarce, personal ownership, like a home, is almost unattainable. Prohibition on buying private homes. In North Korea, private home ownership is highly regulated by the government, which assigns housing based on factors such as occupation and perceived political alignment. While this system is intended to address housing distribution, the allocation can appear unequal, with more comfortable housing often assigned to higher-ranking officials. Many ordinary citizens live in simpler, state-assigned residences, and privately built homes may still be subject to government management, as land ownership is centralized. For most citizens, private home ownership remains a limited option. Just as homes are controlled, owning a car is another luxury almost entirely out of reach. Ban on buying cars. Owning a car in North Korea is almost impossible. Despite having an auto industry since the year 1950s, by the year 2019, there were only about 23,000 cars for a population of 25 million, most reserved for the government, military, or police. The reasons are staggering strict laws, sky-high costs, and a market out of reach for ordinary citizens. Until the year 2017, private car ownership was nearly unheard of, limited to those with government ties. Then, the regime surprisingly allowed private ownership, claiming it would boost the transportation system. But don't get your hopes up. Buying a car remains a bureaucratic maze, requiring endless paperwork, government approval, and even family consent. Though technically possible, the road to car ownership is still heavily obstructed. But what about the basic need for food? The story only gets tougher. Food insecurity and economic challenges. Food shortages in North Korea remain a significant challenge due to limited agricultural modernization, frequent natural disasters, and government budget allocations focused on other priority areas. Outside Pyongyang, food rations may not fully meet needs, prompting people to rely on local markets, known as Jangmadang, for essentials. These markets are regulated, and prices vary with seasonal changes and shifts in border policies. When the China-North Korea border closes, food prices can rise, impacting low-income households. Local markets provide additional food options but highlight broader economic constraints, including trade limitations and limited external support, which contribute to malnutrition. Humanitarian assistance faces regulatory limitations, with resources distributed based on specific priorities. The focus on strategic objectives over general welfare keeps food access a continuing issue, requiring resilience and patience from many North Koreans. Food scarcity shapes daily life, but for most North Koreans, so does mandatory military service. Compulsory military service. In North Korea, military service is a significant part of life, influencing social structure and reflecting the country's emphasis on defense and state priorities. Most men and women are required to serve, with men typically enlisted for around 10 years and women for 5 to 7. Military life presents challenges, as soldiers often contribute to national projects and may experience hardships, similar to the civilian population. Women may face additional challenges, including some gender-specific issues with limited support resources. Military service can also delay young people's entry into careers, higher education, and family life, which may affect their opportunities later on. While some may gain government employment based on their service, many return to civilian life with fewer professional options. Economic structure and economic ties with China. North Korea's economy is isolated and strictly regulated by the government, contributing to economic challenges. Its annual GDP is about $1,000 per capita, Despite this, China accounts for around 90% of North Korea's trade, influencing North Korean policies while North Korea seeks to retain some autonomy. Everyday life in North Korea reflects this reliance, with access to basics like food and electricity often linked to Chinese support. Any shift in China's stance can lead to shortages, prompting some citizens to turn to unofficial markets for necessary goods. North Korea's focus on self-reliance is largely symbolic. Its economy relies significantly on China. This balance of isolation and dependence affects daily life, often in ways that are not widely visible. But what happens when isolation is enforced, not just economically, but within families across generations? Generational impact of punitive policies. North Korea's three generations policy enforces a form of collective responsibility, meaning that if one individual is deemed to have committed an offense, their family members, including future generations, may be affected by the consequences. This policy, originating during Kim Il-sung's early leadership, uses psychological methods to minimize dissent, discouraging opposition by extending consequences to entire families. This policy serves purposes for the regime. It fosters caution within family relationships, cultivating an atmosphere of careful self-monitoring. Individuals may be labeled enemies of the state for various, often ambiguous reasons, such as showing interest in foreign media or expressing differing views, leading to a sense of concern that even minor actions could affect their entire family. If you grew up knowing that your actions could impact your grandchildren, how would that affect your decisions? Do you think you'd make different choices? Comment and chat with me. Labor camps and the conditions of imprisonment. North Korea's facilities known as kwanliso are described as camps where individuals, including their families across multiple generations, may be detained under the government's policy of Yeonjebaje. These camps reportedly enforce labor practices with limited provisions, leading to regimented and restrictive lifestyles. Men are said to work in mining activities, while women engage in agricultural and textile production. Even minor actions perceived as disloyalty are reported to potentially result in extended detention. Although the regime denies their existence, satellite imagery and first-hand accounts have drawn attention to these sites. As of 2024, reports indicate continued detentions, underscoring the extensive measures taken to maintain societal stability in a highly controlled environment. Yet, outside the prison walls, there's another image North Korea wants the world to see. Kijongdong, the Peace Village perspective. Kijongdong, also known as the Peace Village, is located within the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. From a distance, it appears to be a lively settlement with painted buildings, paved roads, and public facilities that give the impression of a developing community. North Korea reports that around 200 people live here. Yet in reality, Kijongdong seems to have no permanent residents, and is believed to have been constructed to project an image of prosperity. From the South Korean side, the village looks impressive, with automated lights and well-maintained buildings. However, satellite observations and various reports suggest that this area is mostly empty, with no signs of residents. Built in the year 1950s as a counterpart to South Korea's village of Daseongdong, Kijongdong was designed to showcase North Korean development. The village also has a speaker system that broadcasts official messages and patriotic music across the demilitarized zone. For observers from the south, it symbolizes the existing differences between the two sides of the Korean peninsula. The Juche calendar, a distinct cultural norm. North Korea's Juche calendar reflects the state's ideology and reverence for its founding leader, Kim Il-sung. Starting from his birth year, the year 1912, or Juche on the calendar, marks year 2024 as Juche 106. This unique system, introduced in the year 1997 after Kim Il-sung's passing, is part of the government's effort to honor his legacy and promote the principle of self-reliance. For North Koreans, the Juche calendar is ever present, appearing on birth certificates, school records, government documents, and even expiration dates on products. While the Gregorian calendar is occasionally used for international exchanges, the Juche calendar reinforces the state's narrative daily, supporting a focus on self-determination and independence from outside influence. This calendar system distinguishes North Korea from global norms and emphasizes a connection to the Kim family, underscoring the nation's identity as unique and self-contained. For outsiders, it illustrates North Korea's strong commitment to ideological unity, using time itself as a symbol of national identity and alignment with the government's values. And while North Korea's calendar reflects its ideology, It also uses architecture to present an illusion. The illusion of prosperity. Potemkin villages. North Korea projects an image of strength and prosperity, especially near the DMZ, with Potemkin built in the year 1950s. This so-called peace village is designed to showcase wealth and modernity to South Korea. From afar, it looks like a thriving community with colorful buildings, neat roads, and a massive flagpole. However, up close, the village is largely uninhabited, with empty buildings and lights that operate on timers. This display is intended to impress South Korean and international observers, contrasting with reports of widespread poverty and decay in other parts of the country. Kijong-dong highlights the North Korean government's focus on image control and the lengths it goes to maintain a narrative of prosperity. From empty villages to grandiose stadiums, North Korea's penchant for appearances is unmatched. But what lies beneath these impressive facades? The world's largest stadium, a grand facade. Nestled in Pyongyang, the Rungredo 1st of May Stadium stands as a significant symbol of North Korea's pursuit of power and grandeur. With a seating capacity of 114,000, it holds the title of the world's largest stadium. Completed in the year 1989, its magnolia blossom design reflects themes of beauty, strength, and national unity. While originally intended for sports, the stadium is renowned for hosting the Arang Mass Games and elaborate, choreographed performances that celebrate the nation's leadership. These events are designed to foster unity and pride among North Koreans, while also presenting a strong, cohesive image to the international community. Despite its impressive scale, the stadium also highlights contrasting priorities, with significant resources allocated to its maintenance while parts of the country face economic challenges. Ultimately, it serves as a showcase of national strength and unity, despite the underlying difficulties many citizens encounter.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and tap the notification button for the latest updates, exclusively on Epic Media.